Football fans, we need to talk about a decision that says more about the current state of the Washington Commanders than any highlight reel or stat sheet ever could. Because when a two-time All-Pro receiver has his pick of championship contenders lining up to sign him, and he turns down a team led by Patrick Mahomes himself to instead come home to Washington, that is not just a free agency signing. That is a statement, a loud, unmistakable statement about exactly how this league now views this franchise. So today, we are diving deep into the full story behind Stefon Diggs choosing the Commanders, breaking down exactly how the coaching staff plans to deploy him, and getting you caught up on every single roster battle brewing at training camp. Because there is a lot to unpack, and some of it might genuinely surprise you. Let's start with a headline that dropped and immediately sent shockwaves through the football world. According to reporting from ESPN insider Adam Schefter, Diggs ultimately chose the Washington Commanders over serious interest from the Kansas City Chiefs, the Miami Dolphins, and the Las Vegas Raiders. Read that list again. The Kansas City Chiefs, a franchise that has been to basically every Super Bowl imaginable in recent memory, quarterbacked by arguably the best player in football, coached by a future Hall of Fame head coach. And Stefon Diggs looked at that opportunity and said, "No thanks, I am going home instead." That is the kind of decision that simply does not happen unless a player genuinely believes the situation he is walking into gives him just as real, if not better, a chance to compete for a championship. And Diggs himself made that motivation crystal clear in his own words. He explained that at this stage of his career, everybody around him already knows exactly what he wants. And that is simple. He wants to win, and he wants to hoist a championship trophy. According to Diggs, there was no better place on earth to chase that dream than coming back to his own hometown. He talked about how this entire situation feels like it could not have been written any better, being fully healthy again after working his way back from a significant ankle injury, and now getting the chance to represent the city he grew up in. He emphasized just how much this opportunity means to him personally, expressing genuine gratitude for the support system and the love he already feels from that community, and stating plainly that the best way he knows how to repay that support is by helping this team make a serious, deep playoff run. Now think about what this decision actually signals about the confidence level surrounding this Commanders roster right now. This is a franchise that clearly believes, and apparently has convinced outside talent to believe as well, that they possess real, legitimate championship upside heading into this season, with a rising young franchise quarterback already establishing himself, an established number one receiver already thriving, and a defensive coordinator installing an aggressive modern scheme. Diggs looked at all of that and decided this roster gives him a better shot at glory than teams with far more recent championship pedigree. That is an enormous vote of confidence, and if this team can actually deliver on that promise by the time January rolls around, this signing is going to look like an absolute masterstroke. And based on everything coming out of these early practice sessions, Diggs is backing up that confidence with genuinely impressive on-field performances. Every single clip circulating from training camp shows a receiver who simply glides through his routes, moving with an effortless fluidity that belies the fact that he is still working through the early stages of learning a brand new playbook. Of course, the coaching staff is being smart and deliberate about his integration, easing him in gradually since he genuinely has not had time yet to fully absorb every wrinkle of this offensive system. But even in these limited early reps, observers are already noting real chemistry beginning to form between Diggs and the starting quarterback, and that trademark stop-start burst that has made him one of the most difficult receivers in football to cover looks completely unaffected, even as he approaches his early 30s. Now, let's address something that has been buzzing among the fan base since day one, the jersey number situation. As of right now, Diggs is wearing a duplicate number shared temporarily with a player on the defensive side of the ball, a completely normal and permitted arrangement during this stage of the preseason. But do not get too attached to that particular digit, because there is a strong expectation that Diggs will eventually transition into a different, more permanent number once roster situations sort themselves out, whether that means working out an arrangement with a current player willing to give up their number or simply waiting for a spot to naturally open up. So if you were thinking about rushing out to buy that specific jersey right now, you might want to hold off just a little bit longer. Let's shift over to exactly how the coaching staff appears to be planning on deploying both of their star receivers this season, because this is a genuinely fascinating scheme wrinkle worth watching closely. The offensive coordinator has repeatedly praised Diggs' talents working specifically out of the slot position, but the expectation is that he will actually rotate through all three receiver alignments throughout the season, exactly as he has done consistently throughout his entire career, playing outside on both sides of the formation as well as working from the slot depending on the specific play call and matchup. The same flexibility applies to this team's existing number one receiver, who has also shown the ability to line up both outside and in the slot. Given that shifting situational deployment, there is a genuine possibility this offense adopts something closer to a receiver-by-committee approach on certain snaps, mixing and matching which players line up where based on the specific concept being run. That could mean a bigger-bodied outside receiver, getting extra opportunities on certain downs when both stars are lined up in the slot, or a different speedy deep threat option getting extended run when the situation calls for it. It is exactly the kind of unpredictable, matchup-based scheme that makes life miserable for opposing defensive coordinators trying to prepare a game plan. Now here is a number worth keeping an eye on all season long, because Diggs reportedly topped 1,000 receiving yards last season even while working his way back from that significant ankle injury. The obvious question on every fan's mind now becomes whether he can replicate that kind of production in a brand new offense, working alongside a different quarterback in his age 32 season. If he manages to stay healthy throughout the year, there is genuine reason for optimism that he can hit that mark again, especially given the scheme flexibility being built around him and the quality of the quarterback delivering him the football. Beyond the Diggs storyline, this was also a genuinely encouraging day on the injury front for the Commanders as a whole, because the team officially welcomed 3 significant starters back to practice after coming off the physically unable to perform list. That group includes the team's expected number 1 starting cornerback, who had been working his way back from a fibula fracture suffered last season, a veteran defensive end who tore his ankle last year after putting together arguably the best individual stretch of his career before the injury derailed his season, and the team's veteran punter. Getting all 3 of these significant contributors back into the fold at the same time creates a genuine sense that this entire roster is finally coming together at exactly the right moment, layering that injury news right on top of the excitement surrounding the Diggs signing. But not everything is entirely rosy right now, and it would not be an honest recap without addressing a legitimate concern brewing along the offensive line. The team's presumed starting center has been sidelined with an injury, and in his absence, the primary backup option who has been working with the first-team offense has reportedly struggled significantly, both with snap consistency and in both pass protection and run-blocking situations. Complicating matters further, the coaching staff has apparently been hesitant to throw a promising rookie center prospect directly into first-team reps, likely wanting to avoid rushing his development too quickly. That combination of factors has created a genuinely nervous undercurrent among close observers of this team, because the transition of the starting center from guard to center already represented a meaningful adjustment on its own. And now missing valuable practice time to develop chemistry with the starting quarterback and refine his snapping consistency only adds another layer of uncertainty heading into the regular season. This is absolutely a storyline worth monitoring closely as camp progresses, because offensive line continuity, particularly at the center position, can make or break an entire season if it goes wrong. Now let's talk about a genuinely interesting subplot developing at safety, Because through the first 2 weeks of training camp, it has not been either of the two safeties who started full-time for this defense last season lining up as the starter opposite the team's clear number one safety. Instead, a different veteran safety, known primarily around the league as an elite special teams contributor, has been getting the bulk of first-team reps, and the defensive-minded head coach has reportedly been openly praising how well he has been performing throughout camp. Last season, this same player recorded 1 interception and 7 pass breakups in a role that was thrust upon him mostly out of necessity due to injuries elsewhere in that secondary, and by most accounts he performed reasonably well, if not spectacularly. The obvious question now becomes whether he has taken his overall game to a genuinely new level, transforming from a solid special teams ace who can handle spot defensive duty into a legitimate every-down starting caliber safety. The fairest way to evaluate this situation moving forward is simple. Whoever is playing the best football deserves the job regardless of reputation or past starting experience, and right now, that appears to be this particular veteran. Though there is still plenty of training camp and preseason action remaining for the other candidates to make their case. Finally, let's wrap up with an update on the ongoing kicking competition, because the storyline has genuinely started to shift in recent days. After the veteran incumbent kicker opened camp with a perfect showing during the first week, seemingly settling any doubts about his job security, the undrafted rookie kicker out of Iowa has come storming back over the past 2 practices, connecting on every single attempt across back-to-back sessions, including some impressive makes from beyond 50 yards, while the veteran has cooled off noticeably during that same stretch. This battle is far from decided, and the upcoming preseason games will likely carry significant weight in determining who ultimately wins the job, but do not be surprised if this turns into one of the more compelling roster battles to watch as final cuts approach. So there you have it, football fans. A 2-time All-Pro receiver who had championship contenders across the league lining up for his services, and he chose to come home instead, a decision that speaks volumes about the beliefs surrounding this Commanders roster. A scheme built around positional flexibility that should keep opposing defenses guessing all season long, encouraging injury news at cornerback, defensive end, and punter. A genuinely concerning situation developing at center that bears close watching. A fascinating safety competition that could see a special team standout claim a starting role, and a kicking battle that has completely flipped in the span of just a couple of practices. This is training camp football at its absolute finest, packed with storylines, optimism, and just enough uncertainty to keep every single fan glued to their screen for updates. So now it is your turn, and we genuinely want to hear from you. Does Stefon Diggs choosing the Commanders over the Chiefs, Dolphins, and Raiders convince you that this roster is a legitimate championship contender this season? Are you worried about that center situation? Or do you trust the starter to get healthy and settle in once he returns? And who do you want to see win that battle at the second starting safety spot? Drop your predictions and your honest reactions down in the comments section below, because we absolutely love hearing what you all think. If this breakdown helped you get fully caught up on everything happening at Commanders training camp, do us a favor and smash that like button. It truly makes a massive difference in helping this channel reach even more dedicated fans just like you. And if you have not already hit that subscribe button, now is the perfect time, because we are going to be right here bringing you every single roster update, every practice takeaway, and every bit of insider analysis all the way through this incredibly promising season. Thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.